that Sheeran may have been there working as Buffalino's bodyguard, we know who hit Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo was shot and killed by a Little Italy hood named Carmine Sonny DiBiase. And this is the story of how DiBiase and Gallo came together one fateful morning during the hours before dawn in a just-opened seafood joint called Umberto's Clam House. Chapter 1. Joey's Back. For most of the time when I was a kid on the President Street block, Joey Gallo was away. I was there because my dad, Ricky Dimatteo, was Larry Gallo's bodyguard, Larry being the oldest of the three Gallo brothers. Larry found my dad, an ex-boxer, in the 1960s when he saw Ricky deck a guy with one punch. Even more impressive for the fact that the guy he decked was Emil Griffith, the boxer who went on to be welter and middleweight champion. My dad flattened him, however, and Larry Gallo offered him a job. So he hung out on President Street, where the Gallo crew had their headquarters. Even after Larry died of natural causes, my dad, Ricky, stuck around as a valued member of the Gallo crew. As I grew up, things for the President Street boys seemed to be going well. Scores were made, there was money, swag. The boys seemed to be thriving and having fun. I got to see the fun part up close as my dad threw parties at our house in Freeport, and the guys were all there. But all of that started to crumble the second that Joey Gallo was released from prison on April 11th, 1971. The block on President Street, technically 2 blocks, was geographically isolated, perfectly positioned for a fortress, with the piers at one end and the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway at the other. It wasn't always that way. Here's a mini-history lesson. When Robert Moses, as head of the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority, took up the difficult and cold-blooded duty of running veins, that is, expressways, through old New York City neighborhoods so that cars more efficiently could get to and from the suburbs, a lot of neighborhoods were destroyed. No borough suffered as much as the Bronx. To provide easy access for gas guzzlers to make the commute into the city from Westchester County in Connecticut, the borough was vivisected. The whole southern section of the Bronx went to shit. Brooklyn, where I was born, is larger and survived its adaptation. Much of the Belt Parkway traced a perimeter of swamp that wasn't being used for much anyway. Canarsie lost its little escape spot by the bay, but it was run down and arson bait by that time. Sunset Park lost its main drag, the sunshine gone forever as the highway was built like a roof above the 3rd Avenue Strip, held aloft by fantastic girders. The sealed-in feel erected a psychological barrier and held the legitimate world out. At night, it was a juvenile delinquent playground. It was so dark that you could dump anything there without worrying about the heat. You could find bodies, sometimes a rusty refrigerator, both riddled with bullet holes. Mom-and-pop restaurants closed. Theaters closed or went porn. Shops under the road on 3rd Avenue were cursed to perpetual night, and adult storefronts floated, stuck out of time. I'll bet today you can still see raggedy signs in storefront windows offering fetish VHS tapes for cheap. In 2021, the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway cruised through Brooklyn Heights beneath a flimsily cantilevered promenade and turned into the Gowanus Parkway that cut through South Brooklyn, separating one part of Red Hook from the rest. But on President Street, Robert Moses's heartless destruction did a wonderful thing. It created an enclave that was easy to defend. The western end of President was now geographically isolated, and that was where the Gallo crew hung out, shot the shit, and planned tactics and strategy. The Gallo brothers grew up in the Kensington section of Brooklyn, but did business out of the President Street block because their maternal grandmother, known as Big Mama or Grandma Nunziato, owned a building there, number 51, and Papa Gallo, Umberto, had a business there, number 47, before opening Jackie's Charcolette in Kensington. The Gallo boys were always at home on the President Street block. Larry passed while Joey was away, spending the last months of his stretches.